Well, hey everyone, it's Markus and welcome to more chatting in my jungle room. I'm heading over to Victoria today where I am talking to an arts and entertainment industry legend. Like this guy has been around for a long time. We're going to discuss all of his work, but please, he's one of Australia's arts and entertainment industry hardest working guys, but also one of the nicest guys. Please welcome Brian Nankervis. Brian, hey, how are you?
Yeah, really good, Marcus. Delighted with that beautiful intro. Thank you very much.
My
A little bit of
pleasure.
pressure, but not too much.
You do work hard. I know you do because I mean you've been kicking butt for a long time. But let's just drop some names. You've worked with
Yeah.
Hey Hey at Saturday. You've
Yep.
worked with the panel. Thank God you're here. And there's another
Yeah.
one we'll touch on in a minute as well. But I mean you've been doing some stuff. Your repertoire is okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I fell into it in a way about 41 years ago. I was a primary school teacher and took a year off and ended up working at the Last Laugh Theatre Restaurant, which is a big, infamous theatre restaurant in Melbourne where a lot of comics got their start. And I started as a waiter, but ended up doing a little bit of stand-up and I was invited to be part of a show called Let the Blood Run Free,
I
which
remember that.
some of your listeners and watchers will know. It was a send up of a hospital soap opera.
Yep.
And in fact, we did a season at the Last Laugh in 1985, and then we went to the 1986 Adelaide Fringe,
Yeah.
and we did 3 weeks, I believe, at a room called Little Sisters, which I'm not sure. I think it was in the Lion Arts complex,
Okay. Yep. Yep.
and we loved it. As I say, it was a send up of hospital soap operas, and I played a sort of very uptight, altruistic doctor, Doctor Good,
I remember
and you know.
it.
Yeah, good. Yeah, yeah. Well, we ended up doing so we did live shows for a while, and then we did a couple of seasons on TV. And so that it just I always thought maybe I'll go back to teaching, but I started doing the poet on Hey Hey at Saturday, Raymond J. Bartholomew's, the
Oh, it's
somewhat enthusiastic, perhaps unhinged poet on Hey Hey with the beret. And then that led to doing lots of warm-ups for TV shows. You mentioned before, Thank God You're Here, the panel. And then I started doing other theatre bits and stand-up and then fell into this other show called RocKwiz, which has
which
been going for 21 years.
mad. 2005, it kicked off
Yeah.
on Foxtel originally, and then it moved
I
to
know, SBS.
SBS. Oh, sorry, I got it back and back to front. But yeah,
No, no, we did do a run. We did a season at Foxtel about 3 years ago.
okay. And then
Yeah.
it wrapped up in 2016, the final airing, right? No, no.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, it's lived on because you have done many tours. You do get to Adelaide quite a bit. It was only
Yeah.
recently doing, a rock quiz. However, you are coming back to Adelaide in 2026 for the 2026 Adelaide Fringe with a brand new show. I cannot wait to find out all about it. It's called Wish You Were Mine. What's it all about?
Well, it's a funny thing. It's sort of come out of RocKwiz. It's the RocKwiz team, but not Julia. Our incredible host Julia Zamiro is remarkable, and I think she's one of the main reasons the show is still going. But she is incredibly in demand. She does Fisk. She's got a new show, Crime Night. She did the walking show. She did home delivery. So sometimes, we would find we were ready to do more RocKwiz shows, but Julia was doing something else. So we sometimes thought, well, maybe there's a sort of an offshoot that we could do. And I, for a few years, for maybe 10 or 12 years, I've got a little show called On the Couch where I interview artists about their music, about their lives, and they do a couple of songs. And we've always sort of thought maybe this is something that under the RocKwiz umbrella. And so then we started thinking about, the songs that artists wish they'd written. Because this is a big part of RocKwiz is the duet at the end. So for those who don't know, the RocKwiz show, it's a quiz show essentially. Two artists in its simplest form have to be guessed. They come out, they do one of their own songs, they do some quizzing, and then at the end of the show, they close the show with a duet. And that duet is always a cover. It's always a song that perhaps they've wanted to sing. It's a song that perhaps they've wanted to write. Because all songwriters I've found, they love their own music, but they're also students of songwriting, because they're constantly in the nuts and bolts of, well, how do I make this new? How do I make it special for me? How do I make this song stand out? And so they're invariably thinking about other songs, and they do shows with other people, and they stand side stage. So someone said, well, what about we do a show based around the songs that they wish were theirs, but we also combine me as an interviewer, because I've been working on the ABC radio for the last 10 years. I have a Friday afternoon show called The Friday Review and a Saturday morning show. I had a national show called Songs and Stories. And a lot of that is interviewing people about their work, not just musicians, filmmakers and authors. But when it's about musicians, it often comes around to the songs. What makes a great song? How do you write? What's your process? And with RocKwiz, as I say, we always finish the show with a duet, but we don't always have a chance to discuss that song. So, for example, one of the very first duets that really, I think, made people sit up and take notice was in our first series, maybe our second series, but we had Martha Wainwright, Rufus Wainwright's sister, Loudon Wainwright's daughter, Kate McGarrigle's daughter, and we paired her with Dan Kelly, Paul Kelly's nephew, who was a sort of an up-and-coming young artist, and they chose Slave for Love, the Brian Ferry song. And I remember it was a huge, it was a sort of a hit in a way. It was a bit of it went a bit viral. The chemistry on stage was palpable. Older woman, younger boy. You could tell there was some fairly high level flirting. But lost in all that was the song in a way. Why did they choose that song? Is that a song that was influential in their life? Was that a song that they wanted to write? And so, sometimes, I mean, you can only do what you can do, and we have time limits on RocKwiz. So there just wasn't time to explore that side of things. So that's what this show will be. Two artists. Each artist will do two songs that they wish they'd written, two songs that they admire. I will interview them. We'll discuss those songs. I think we'll also go a little bit into their careers, into their personal lives. The older I get, the longer I spend interviewing people, the more I realize that to make a really great interview, there needs to be a little bit of delving. There needs to be a little dig down. So I'll be doing that. And then, so the first artist does their two songs and we chat. Second artist does their two songs and we chat. And then, which is a sort of a throwback to RocKwiz, the two artists come together at the end and perform a duet. And we've got a couple of members of the RocKwiz band, original drummer and musical director Peter Luscombe, our bass player Bill McDonald, and then a chap that we've all worked with a few times, a wonderful keyboard player called Bruce Hamence.
Oh,
So yeah, it's exciting because it's new. And I think one of the things that we've discovered with RocKwiz is being pushed into new areas is really important. Like last month, we did the Tamworth Music Festival. Now, we've played Tamworth before, but never as part of the Country Music Festival. And so it was RocKwiz Salutes Country. And so the whole thing was, you know, loosely based on country music was at its heart. So there was John Williamson, there was Hank Williams, there was Patsy Cline, there was Dolly Parton, there was Guy Clark, Jerry Jeff Walker, you know.
yeah.
So
And the lineup of artists you've got, so it runs from Tuesday, the 3rd of March to the
yep.
Thursday, 5th of March. So it's on for 3 nights, everybody, at the Spiegel tent at the Garden of Unearthly Delights. But the artist lineup that you've got for each of those nights are just incredible. Are we allowed to talk about those, or are they?
Yeah. Well, this is a bit liberating for us too, because with RocKwiz, we always keep the artists a secret.
Yeah.
Because they have to be guessed. You know, Julia says, "Who can it be now? I was born in blah blah blah," and so which is fun, and there is a degree of excitement when someone finally realizes it's Paul Kelly and he bursts through the curtain. But this is a little different, and so we've got Becky Cole,
Yeah.
Adelaide's own, who we worked with in December. If any of your listeners slash watchers saw our shows in Adelaide, we did the Thebby in early December, and we did Renmark. No, not Renmark. The Barossa Valley. Where would it be? Beautiful, beautiful little town. That's embarrassing. Someone can correct me. I'll get it if I think long enough. But anyway, an hour or so up the road,
Yeah.
and we had Becky Cole, and she was so great.
Yeah.
So that's exciting. And we've paired her with Kevin Mitchell,
From
real name
amazing. Yeah.
Obadiah. But he also has a sort of a side hustle, if you like, as Bob Evans, who's a sort of more sort of singer-songwriter. And so they've chosen some great songs. I won't say what songs are.
That can be the secret.
That's the secret. We've got on the second night, Emily Warramurra, a wonderful First Nations artist,
Exceptional.
and Joe Camilleri.
Yeah, the Black Sorrows, come on. I mean, Joe is a legend as well.
Joe Zepp. Yeah, Joe's been a sort of a big part of the RocKwiz story right from the start. I think he was on maybe the first episode that went to air.
Wow.
We just did this last tour. We spent a bit of time with Joe, and I've loved him. I used to go and see, the first bands that I saw, Jojo Zepp, Daddy Cool, the Dingoes. Joe was just a big part of my musical life. And Joe's incredible on stage, but the thing is with this show, you'll see them talking. You'll hear them analyzing the songs they have chosen, the songs they love. So that's the great exciting thing, because with Joe, we see him, he's an incredible performer, and he does a little bit of chat. I saw him a couple of months ago, and he told some great stories. He's a great raconteur. He's a great storyteller. So that's exciting. And then the final night is
Yeah.
Vicar and Linda Bull.
Exciting. I love them too as well.
Yeah, we've changed the format a bit for that last night rather than having two separate artists. We love Vicar. Vicar and Linda have been a big part of the RocKwiz story as well. I think for about maybe two or three series, they were our, um, backing vocalists. And so
Beautiful.
they would back all the artists, and you could tell, Billy Bragg or Dave Faulkner or whoever, Judy Collins, some of the international artists, I would watch them in rehearsal and I could see them looking at Vicar and Linda thinking, wow, incredible. So anyway, they've of course spent a lot more time lately, under their own name rather than playing with Joe or Paul Kelly. So that's exciting to have them.
Incredible
Yeah.
lineup. Hey, I mean, you have worked with a lot of big names in the Australian music industry. I've got two questions
Yeah.
for you. My first
Yeah.
one is, have you met an Australian artist or even an overseas artist that has kind of like made you a little bit kind of like taken aback? It's like how you have had the opportunity to work with this incredible talent?
Oh, look, there's a lot because with RocKwiz, I think we did 187 episodes. And since then, we've done hundreds of live shows. Um, so there's a lot. I mentioned Paul Kelly before. Paul, an incredible fan. And so, I can remember the first time I saw Paul Kelly in a little pub in Caulfield in 1979. My friend said, "You've got to see this guy. He's incredible." He took me right down the front. We stood there and I just thought, oh, this guy's, you know, the whole package, great songs, incredibly mesmerizing performer. And so I've always loved Paul's work. So to work with Paul has been exciting. Who else? The first band I ever saw was a great band called the Dingoes,
Yeah.
led by the great Broderick Smith,
Yep.
father of Ambrose Smith, who's part of the and then that name is going to escape me again. It's a long, long name. Okay, it's early. It's early, mate. Anyway, uh, yeah. So Broderick Smith was the lead singer of the Dingoes, and the Dingoes was the first band I ever saw properly. So that was exciting. It wasn't easy to get him. It turned out Broderick was the late Broderick Smith now, sadly. Broderick was a very nervous performer. It's funny with RocKwiz, lots of the performers were quite nervous about answering the questions. They were happy to sing. They knew our band. We had this incredible, the RocKwiz Orkestra were wonderful musicians. And so they felt comfortable there. But the idea of having to be guessed, because they were always panicky, what if they don't guess me, I remember James Rain. They didn't get James Rain. All the clues came out. And the thing is, it's only those four people who could do the guessing. The room might be full of 1,000 people or 500 at the ESPY who would know who it was. But unless those four knew, anyway, sometimes they were nervous about answering questions. They'd say, well, what if I don't answer anything? They would say, I don't want to feel like a goose. So Broderick was like that. He was very nervous. We kept trying again. He said, no, I don't think so. And then finally, I think he'd had a solo record that had done pretty well. And his confidence levels were up. And I remember we rang him and he said, yes, I really want to do it, but I can't do it at the moment. And we said, are there gigs? And he said, no, I've just got a new set of teeth. And it's affected the way I'm singing. He said, my speech therapist has assured me that in a few weeks I'll be singing well. And sure enough, anyway, We got him. He was incredible. He was quite nervous. We paired him with a young gal called Patience Hodgson from Brisbane, and they did an MGMT song called Time to Pretend, which Broderick's son, Ambrose, had suggested, and it was incredible. It was a sort of a modern contemporary song um, about models and heroin and sort of out of Broderick's world, Patience from the Greats. So they came together. It was this great pairing, as Broderick Smith said, Beauty and the Beast, which was a good line. So that was incredibly exciting. Who else? Lots. Ross Hannaford, the Daddy Cool guitarist, who was a huge hero of mine. And then lots of the international acts was pretty exciting. To have Billy Bragg on the show, to have Steve Earle. We had Steve Earle up at Blues Fest.
Crazy.
Yeah, so it was always exciting. And as I say, with RocKwiz, the hurly-burly of the show and the questions and the quizzing meant that sometimes I sort of yearned to get to know these artists a bit more. I mean, we often would in the green room or at Chicholina after the show. We always went for supper. And so you'd get into deep conversations, but I always thought it'd be great to have these conversations in front of an audience. And Wish You Were Mine, this show at the Spiegel tent at the Adelaide Fringe, will give you that opportunity.
Oh God, I am so looking forward to it. I know I can't come to every night because there's so much going on. How I choose which night I'm going to get to, I have
Yes.
no freaking idea. Maybe
Well, it'll be different every night. So that's, people can come every night.
exact. Oh, you know what? And it's right in the hub of everything, so it's not that
Yeah.
hard to get to. Hey, I'm going to
No.
ask you. I'm going to put you on a spot. I'm going to put you, and you might not be able to think this quickly. We'll see how we go because it is first thing in the morning, and I've only had
Right.
one cup of coffee. I'm not sure about you, but let's play a scenario. I'm putting you on my brand new show, which is called "Wish You Were Mine." It's playing at the Spiegel tent, and I say to you, "What are two songs that you wish you wrote? What would they be?"
Wow. I would say song number one would be Like a Rolling Stone by Bob Dylan. Remarkable song, angry, defiant, a new sound. One of the first Dylan songs that I heard. Um, the second song might be Adelaide born Paul Kelly. It could be Deeper Water,
Yeah.
which is
Oh,
a song that always makes me cry. And I saw him perform it at Blues Fest a couple of years ago, and I was standing with my wife and with my children, and there are so many moments in that song that are so emotional, and it deals with birth and death and carrying on. Um, it's a great song. So there you go.
I
Is that
love
all
it.
right?
I love it. You're coming on my show.
Thank you very much.
Brian Nankervis, you are an absolute delight. I know that you've got a massive day in front of you. But I just before we gotta go, I want to say, I mean, that record collection behind you, that music collection is
Oh, yeah.
mesmerizing. I adore.
Oh, well, good.
I
Yeah,
would
I'll give you,
actually swap over my nature for that, actually.
come on, closer look.
Have you got a favorite?
Well, I'm a bit of a deadhead, so there's the Grateful Dead.
Oh,
There's quite a few CDs.
yes.
Then let's head over this way. Oh, look, there's Jojo Zep.
Holy moly. Yes, thank you.
This, can you see this? Oh, okay. Little hint.
Ah, Lucinda. There we are. Adore.
As that might turn you on. There she is again. Oh, look, I don't know what the
Heavenly.
quality was like. So,
Enjoy all of it. enjoy it. I even saw a bit of a Paul Kelly autobiography up on the shelf there as
Oh,
well.
yeah. Yeah, no, this is the study. This is the music room,
Of it. We all
the book room, and yeah, heading to book club tonight. So I'm preparing myself.
You are a legend. It's so nice to sit and chat with you. I could chat to you
Thank you,
all
Markus.
day about music. I really could. And you know what? I've got a feeling this is just going to be our very first Zoom. I think there's going to be more.
Yeah, yeah. Come on. I'd love to do more.
Brian Nankervis, everyone. Wish You Were Mine is playing from Tuesday, the 3rd of March to Thursday, the 5th of March. So only 3 shows. Make sure you get along at the Spiegel tent at the Garden of Unearthly Delights. Make sure you get your tickets through adelaidefringe.com. Brian, you have the most amazing day, and I'll see you in Adelaide in just, what, 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Markus. Appreciate the support.
Thank you.